Hello everyone. In this lecture, I will show you the steps to create a role. So here we have. Create a role that grants specific permission in a namespace. So in Kubernetes, a role is used to define a set of permissions that apply only within a specific namespace. And here we have the steps. So we have to start with the API version. So we have used the API version for RBAC, that is role-based access control. And the next we have to use the kind. In the kind you have to use role. So it defines that this is a role, meaning it is a namespace scoped. So this role can be applicable to a specific namespace. The next is metadata. In the metadata, you are supposed to define the namespace name and the name of the role. So here in the namespace, I have mentioned default. So this role applies only to the default namespace. The next is name, and here I have given pod-reader. So it is the name of the role which can be referred in a role binding. The next is important, that is rules. So it defines the permissions granted by the role. So you have to start with the API groups, and mostly in the API groups you have to use the empty string, which refers to the core API group, which includes inbuilt resources like pods, services, etc. The next is resources, and here you can see I have mentioned pods. So this role applies to pods in the default namespace. So whosoever user will get this role, they will have the access or whatever the permission you define in the verbs to the pods in the default namespace. Now the next is verbs. Verbs defines the permissions, like what permission you want to give. So here we have mentioned get, list and watch. So get allows retrieving a single pod's details. List like listing all pods in the namespace. Watch means allowing monitoring pods changes in a real time. So all in all, what this role says that you are going to create a role with the name pod-reader that allows get, list and watch operations on pods within the default namespace. So simply I have created a role, and this role will not do anything until or unless it is assigned to any user, group or service account. So that's all. We'll see you in the next lecture.